A self-made millionaire from Beverly Hills stopped his black Mercedes on Sunset Boulevard when he saw something that would haunt him forever. A small girl abandoned, shivering, bleeding, curled up like trash under a bus shelter. In the City of Angels, people walked past her like she didn't exist. Richard Morrison didn't walk past. He picked her up, brought her to his Bel Air mansion, gave her a name, Emma. His second wife, Victoria, blonde, beautiful, dripping in red designer dresses, smiled for the cameras. Of course we'll help her. But the moment Richard left for a business trip, Victoria's mask shattered. The abuse started small, then escalated. Starvation, isolation, psychological torture. And then the ruler, forced between Emma's small teeth until her gums bled onto their marble floors. Richard came home early one day and found them. He rushed Emma to Cedars-Sinai, expecting broken bones. What the doctors discovered instead destroyed everything he thought he knew. Emma wasn't a random child. She was Victoria's biological daughter, abandoned at birth, then tortured by the woman who gave her life. Stop scrolling right now and answer me. Honestly, have you ever walked past someone suffering and told yourself, it's not my problem? Richard didn't. And that choice just pulled him into a nightmare that proves sometimes the monsters don't hide in the dark. They sleep in your bed. Drop if you're ready for this story, because what happens next is going to break you. Beverly Hills after dark wasn't quiet, it was muted. The difference mattered. In downtown LA, you heard sirens, homeless people shouting, the percussion of the city's failure. In Beverly Hills, you heard sprinkler systems, Tesla motors, the soft hum of generational wealth protecting itself behind gates and hedges and NDAS. Richard Morrison knew every shade of that hum. He'd earned it. 56 years old, built like someone who'd done real labor once, broad shoulders, calloused hands that no amount of moisturizer could fully soften. His brown hair was cut in that undercut style his stylist called distinguished, and cost $300 every 3 weeks. His bright cream-colored three-piece suit was Brioni, purchased during his last trip to their Madison Avenue location. The suit cost more than his father had earned in 6 months of framing houses in Riverside. Richard checked his Patek Philippe 6:47 p.m. Late already. The Hendersons were coming for dinner at 7:30. Victoria had mentioned it this morning while he was on a conference call with the Singapore office, half listening, nodding at whatever she said, because that's what their marriage had become. Nodding, agreeing, existing in parallel. His black Mercedes S-Class sat in the executive garage beneath Morrison Tower, 32 stories of glass and steel in downtown's financial district. His company occupied floors 28 through 30. Morrison Construction Group. His name. His legacy. His everything. He'd built it from nothing. His dad, Miguel Morrison, white guy from Riverside who'd married a Mexican woman and spent 30 years in construction, had taught him how to read blueprints at age 12. Mio, his dad would say, mixing English and the Spanish his mom insisted on at home. Rich men don't swing hammers. Rich men own the hammers. You remember that. Richard remembered. He'd started with one crew, one contract to build a strip mall in Pomona. Now Morrison Construction had its logo on luxury developments from San Diego to San Francisco. The new waterfront complex in Santa Monica. That boutique hotel in Laguna Beach that got featured in Condé Nast Traveler. The high-rise condos in downtown LA where tech executives paid $4 million for 2,000 square feet. Forbes estimated his net worth at $340 million. They were low by about $90 million, but Richard's accountant was good at hiding assets. Had to be after the first divorce. Corinne, God, that was 12 years ago. She'd wanted kids, a husband who came home, someone who remembered anniversaries. Richard had wanted the Orange County contract. She'd left. He'd bought a bigger house. Then Victoria. He merged onto the 405, brake lights stretching to infinity. Ella traffic, the great equalizer. Billionaires and baristas, all stuck together, all slowly dying inside their cars. He turned on KCRW, some interview with a screenwriter talking about authentic representation in Hollywood. Richard turned it off. He dealt with LAA's performative progressivism enough at charity events. That's where he'd met Victoria 3 years ago. Fundraiser for Children's Hospital LA. She'd been running it, event coordinator. Clipboard, that specific kind of beautiful that LA manufactured in Pilates studios and dermatology offices. 41 to his 56. Blonde hair with highlights that cost $800 every 6 weeks. Body maintained by a personal trainer named Chad who posted thirst traps on Instagram between client sessions. Victoria had approached him with a champagne flute and a smile that looked practiced but felt real. "You're Richard Morrison. Guilty. I wanted to meet you. Your company built the new pediatric wing at UCLA Medical. My sister's daughter was treated there last year, leukemia. She's in remission now. But those months," Victoria's voice had caught. "The way you designed it. All that natural light. The playrooms. It made her feel less scared. So thank you." Personal story. Authentic emotion. Richard had written a check for $50,000 that night. Asked for her number. Proposed 6 months later. The wedding was at the Beverly Hills Hotel. 200 guests. Coverage in the Los Angeles Times Society section. His business partners had side-eyed the age gap, but they'd side-eyed Karen too. You couldn't win. 3 years in, Richard understood why his partner Tom had pulled him aside at the rehearsal dinner. "You sure about this one, Rick? She's beautiful, yeah, but she's got that look." "What look?" "The look that says she's marrying Morrison Construction Group, not Richard Morrison." Richard had laughed it off. Now, sitting in traffic on the 405, he wondered if Tom had been right. His phone buzzed. Victoria. Text. "Where are you?" "Henderson's at 7:30. He texted back. "Stuck in traffic. There by 8. 3 dots. Then, you forgot again. He hadn't forgotten. He'd just stopped caring about dinner parties where people discussed their Aspen ski trips and which private school had the best college placement stats. The traffic crawled forward. Richard took the Sunset Boulevard exit, winding through West Hollywood toward home. The houses got bigger. The hedges got taller. The gates got more elaborate. Then he saw her. A bus shelter at Sunset and La Cienega. 3 people waiting, all staring at phones. All pretending not to see the small figure curled behind the plastic bench. A child. Richard's first instinct, the one he'd honed over decades in LA, was to keep driving. You saw things in this city. Homeless encampments under freeway overpasses. Addicts nodding out on Venice Beach. Street kids who'd aged out of foster care with nowhere to go. You couldn't save everyone. That's what he told himself when he drove past suffering. But something made him look again. She was tiny. 7. Maybe 8. Wearing a dress bright cobalt blue. Filthy now. Torn at the hem. Her brown hair hung in messy braids. Her hands were scraped raw, knuckles bleeding. White skin, but tanned from sun exposure. American kid, not recent immigrant. Which meant she'd been on the streets long enough to burn. And everyone was ignoring her. Richard watched a woman in Lululemon $200 leggings. AirPods Pro, Air One reusable bag walk past the girl without even glancing down. A man in a Tesla pulled up to the bus stop, saw the child and drove away. An LAPD cruiser rolled past. Officers laughing at something. Never looking. This was LA. You could die on the street, and people would step over your body to get their oat. Milk latte. Richard pulled to the curb. Hazards on. Engine running. He got out. November air, that specific LA chill that wasn't East Coast cold but would kill you if you were small and wet and alone. Hey, sweetheart. He kept his distance, made his voice soft. Unthreatening. You okay? No response. But her small shoulders tensed. Richard knelt. His $4,000 suit pants soaking up rainwater and God knows what else from the sidewalk. Up close, he could see she was shivering violently. Her lips had a blue tinge. Her eyes were open but unfocused. Hypothermia. Maybe worse. My name's Richard. I'm not gonna hurt you. But I think you need help. He waited. Can you tell me your name? The girl's eyes moved to him. brown, huge, full of an animal terror that made Richard's stomach drop. She tried to speak, but only a croak came out. "It's okay. Don't try to talk." Richard reached out slowly, telegraphing every movement. When she didn't pull away, he touched her forehead. Burning up. Fever and hypothermia together. That was bad. That was A-level bad. He looked around. The bus stop crowd had moved on. A homeless man across the street watched but didn't intervene. A group of USC students walked past, laughing about some party. Nobody stopped. Nobody cared. Richard made a decision. He scooped the girl up. Jesus. She weighed nothing, like lifting a bag of groceries, and carried her to his Mercedes. She didn't fight. Just curled against his chest, desperate for warmth. He laid her across the back seat, cranked the heat to maximum, grabbed the cashmere throw blanket Victoria kept back there for beach picnics in Malibu. He wrapped the girl carefully, tucking the edges. Her teeth were chattering so hard he could hear them clicking. "We're going to Cedars-Sinai. Best hospital in LA. They'll fix you right up." She didn't respond. Just stared at him with those huge eyes. Richard pulled back into traffic, one hand on the wheel, one hand reaching back to keep the blanket secure. His phone buzzed repeatedly. Victoria calling. He ignored it. The drive to Cedars-Sinai took 12 minutes. Longest 12 minutes of Richard's life. He kept checking the rearview mirror, making sure the girl was still breathing. Her small chest rose and fell, but each breath looked like work. "Stay with me, sweetheart." "Almost there." She blinked slowly. Once. Twice. Richard accelerated through a yellow light on Beverly Boulevard. A Honda honked at him. He didn't care. Cedars-Sinai Medical Center rose ahead, glass and steel, lit up like a promise. Richard had donated $5 million to their pediatric wing 2 years ago. Got his name on a plaque. Got access to the board of directors. Got the kind of treatment that money bought. He pulled into the ER bay, didn't bother parking properly. Just stopped, left the Mercedes running, and carried the girl through the automatic doors. The lobby was chaos. Gunshot victim bleeding on a gurney. Elderly woman vomiting into a trash can. Security guard trying to restrain someone high on something. Typical Friday night in LA. But Richard had donated $5 million. "I need a doctor. Now." The triage nurse Sandra Chen, he remembered her from the hospital fundraiser last year, looked up. Saw Richard. Saw his suit. Saw the girl in his arms. "Mr. Morrison?" "Found her on Sunset. She's hypothermic, fever, unresponsive. She needs help now." Sandra hit a button. Within seconds, they were surrounded. 2 nurses. A doctor Richard didn't recognize, all moving with practiced efficiency. They transferred the girl to a gurney. Started vitals. Someone cut off her filthy dress. Richard looked away, gave her that privacy. They wrapped her in heated blankets, started in 4, hooked up monitors. "Do you know her name?" The doctor, young, maybe 30, name tag reading Dr. Patel, was already examining her. "No. Relation?" "None. I just found her." Dr. Patel nodded, didn't judge. "We've got her. You can wait in the family room. I'd rather stay." "Sir, I'm staying." Dr. Patel looked at Richard's suit, his watch, his face. Understood. "Over there. Don't touch anything." Richard stood in the corner of the trauma bay, watching them work. Fluids, warming blankets. Blood draws. Someone called out numbers: temperature, BP, heart rate. That meant nothing to Richard but made the medical team move faster. After 20 minutes, the chaos settled. The girl's color improved. Her shivering stopped. She fell asleep, or maybe unconscious. Richard couldn't tell the difference. Dr. Patel approached, pulling off gloves. "She's stable." Severe dehydration, hypothermia, malnutrition, exhaustion. "We're running blood work, but no obvious signs of sexual assault, thank God." Richard felt his shoulders drop. "Can I see her?" "She's sleeping." "But yes." They moved to a private room, one of the nice ones, probably because Sandra had seen Richard's name in the donor database. The girl was in a hospital bed. 4 in her small arm, monitors beeping softly. Someone had washed her face. Beneath the grime, she was just a kid. Brown braided hair, white skin, features that were all American, could be from anywhere Nebraska to Nevada. What happens now? Richard asked. Dr. Patel pulled up a chair. We treat her. Then we contact LA County Child Protective Services. She go into the system unless someone is willing to provide temporary guardianship. Dr. Patel paused. Given your standing in the community, if you were willing to sign as her guardian while we search for family, the county would probably approve it. It's complicated, requires background checks, but draw up the papers. Dr. Patel blinked. Mr. Morrison, this is a significant commitment. You don't know her. You don't know her history. She could have family looking for her. Then we'll find them. Until then, draw up the papers. Stop right here. Because Richard just did something 99% of us would never do. He didn't call 911 and drive away feeling good about himself. He didn't post on Nextdoor and let someone else handle it. He picked up a dying child and took responsibility. And I need to ask you, when was the last time you actually stopped? Not I would if I could stopped. Actually stopped. Comment I stopped if you've ever helped a stranger when it was inconvenient, expensive, or scary. Or comment I didn't, if you're honest enough to admit you probably wouldn't have. Because what happens next is going to test Richard in ways that make picking up Emma look easy. 20 minutes later, Richard was signing documents he barely read. Temporary guardianship. Emergency contact information. Financial responsibility for medical care. His hand moved automatically, muscle memory from 1,000 contracts. But this wasn't a contract. This was a human life. We'll need to keep her overnight for observation, Dr. Patel said. You can stay if you want. Richard looked through the window at the girl still sleeping, still small, still nameless. I'll stay. The hospital provided a vinyl chair that pretended to recline. Richard settled in, texted Victoria. Emergency came up. Won't make dinner. Sorry. Her response was immediate. What kind of emergency? Richard stared at his phone. How did you explain this? I found a dying child on Sunset and now I'm legally responsible for her. Didn't exactly play well. Tell you when I get home. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Then, the Hendersons just arrived. Richard turned off his phone. Around 2 a.m., the girl woke. Her eyes snapped open, instant alertness, zero grogginess. That wasn't normal for a kid. That was survival instinct. She saw Richard, froze. Hey, sweetheart. It's okay. You're safe. He kept his voice soft, stayed in his chair. Didn't approach. You're in a hospital. Cedars-Sinai. Best hospital in Los Angeles. Remember me, Richard? I'm the one who brought you here. She stared. Didn't speak. Her small hand crept to the fore in her arm, fingers wrapping around it like she might pull it out. Don't touch that. It's helping you. You are really sick. Hypothermia, that's when you get too cold. And you had a fever. Doctors fixed you up. Still nothing. They need to call you something for their records. Can you tell me your name? The girl's mouth opened. Closed. She shook her head, small, frantic. You don't remember? Tears started sliding down her cheeks. Silent tears. The kind kids cry when they've learned that making noise brings bad things. Richard felt something crack in his chest. Okay. It's all right. You don't have to remember right now. He leaned forward slightly. How about we pick a name? Just temporary. Just until you remember your real one. Would that be okay? She watched him warily. Then nodded. Once. Tiny. All right. Let's see. Richard looked at her, this small, terrified child who'd survived something bad enough to steal her name. You're brave. Tough. You made it through tonight when a lot of kids wouldn't have. You know what name means brave? Emma. It means whole or universal. But I always thought it sounded brave. What do you think, Emma? The girl considered this. Then nodded again. Emma it is. Emma Morrison. Temporarily. Just for the paperwork, okay? Another nod. Okay, Emma, try to sleep. You're safe here. I promise. Emma's eyes said she'd heard that before. Promises from adults meant nothing, but she closed her eyes anyway. Exhaustion won. Richard stayed in that terrible chair, watching her breathe and thought about his life. 56 years. 340 million. A mansion in Bel Air? A wife who cared more about dinner parties than dying children. Success that felt more like a very expensive prison. And now this. A nameless girl. A commitment he hadn't planned. A responsibility he didn't know how to handle. Tom would say he was having a midlife crisis. His accountant would say he was opening himself to liability. Victoria would say, actually, he had no idea what Victoria would say. Morning came eventually. Dr. Patel appeared at 7 a.m., reviewing Emma's charts. Vitals are good. She ate some breakfast, not much, but something. We can discharge her today if someone's taking responsibility. I am. You're sure? Mr. Morrison, this child has been through significant trauma. She needs therapy, medical follow-up, possibly psychiatric care. This isn't just giving her a place to sleep. I understand. Dr. Patel studied him. Do you? Because most people who help don't realize what they're signing up for. The night terrors. The behavioral issues. The attachment disorders. The system is full of good intentions and broken kids. Then one more good intention won't hurt. Dr. Patel smiled, tired but genuine. All right. Let me get her discharge papers ready. And Mr. Morrison? What you're doing, it matters. She won't thank you. Might never thank you. But it matters. An hour later, Richard was helping Emma into clean clothes, sweatpants, and a hoodie from the hospital gift shop, both too big. Someone had washed her hair, rebraided it. Beneath the trauma, she looked like any kid in suburban LA. Ready to go home? Richard asked. Emma looked at him. Where's home? The question destroyed him. Where's home? Like she'd never had one. Bel Air. Big house. Too big, honestly. Lots of rooms. One's gonna be yours. For how long? Long as you need it. Emma's eyes said she didn't believe him. But she took his hand when he offered it. The drive to Bel Air was silent. Richard tried conversation. You ever been to LA before? What kind of food do you like? But Emma just stared out the window as mansions rolled past. She didn't speak until they reached the gates. Morrison State, the plaque read. Old English script, Victoria's Choice. The gates opened automatically. The driveway curved through landscaping that cost more than most people's houses. The main house rose ahead 12,000 square feet. Featured an Architectural Digest last year. All glass and steel and angles. Emma's small hand found the door handle, gripping tight. I know. It's a lot. Richard parked, came around to help her out. But it's just a house. Big, yeah. Empty, mostly. But it's gonna be home now. Emma stood on the cobblestone driveway, neck craned back, taking in the sheer size of the place. Why is it so big? Good question. My wife likes to host parties. Where's she? Inside. Probably. Richard placed a gentle hand on Emma's shoulder. She flinched but didn't pull away. Come on. Let's go meet her. The front door opened before Richard could use his key. Victoria stood in the entryway, backlit by the $80,000 chandelier she'd ordered from Milan. She was dressed for the day despite the early hour bright red Valentino sheath dress. Blonde hair in loose waves, makeup camera ready. She looked like she'd stepped out of town and country. She always looked like she'd stepped out of town and country. Her blue eyes went from Richard to Emma. Her smile appeared practiced. Perfect social dot, but Richard saw her hand tighten on her champagne flute. Champagne. At 8 a.m. Victoria. This is Emma. Emma, this is my wife. Victoria. Emma shrank behind Richard's leg. Victoria's smile widened, showing more teeth. Hello, Emma. Welcome to our home. Silence. Richard, could I speak with you? Privately? In a minute. Let me get Emma settled. Now, Richard. The tone was pure ice wrapped in silk. Richard looked down at Emma. Go ahead into the kitchen. Straight through there. Lydia's probably making breakfast. Tell her I sent you. Emma hesitated, then walked toward where Richard had pointed. Small steps. Cautious. Like she was walking through a minefield. The moment she was out of earshot, Victoria's mask dropped. What the fuck is this? Richard had seen Victoria angry before when her mother criticized her Thanksgiving menu, when the landscaper trimmed the hedges wrong. But this was different. This was cold fury. I found her on the street. She was dying. So you called 911, right? Did your civic duty? I took her to the hospital, and then brought her here? To our home? Without asking me? There wasn't time. There's always time for a phone call, Richard. Even you can manage that between deals. The jab landed. Richard's jaw tightened. She has nowhere else to go. Child services would put her in the system. Foster care. You know how bad that can be. That's not our problem. It is now. Victoria laughed sharp, brittle. Is it? Did you adopt her? Sign papers. Or did you just make a unilateral decision about our lives because you felt guilty? I signed temporary guardianship papers. Until they find her family. Oh my God. Victoria set down her champagne, pressed her fingers to her temples. You didn't. Tell me you didn't just legally commit us to a random child. Her name is Emma. I don't care if her name is Mother Teresa. You don't bring home a child like she's a stray dog. Emma's voice, small from the kitchen doorway. I can hear you. They both turned. Emma stood there, white-faced, trembling. Victoria's expression transformed instantly. Concern, warmth. Oh, sweetheart, I'm sorry. We're not arguing about you. But Emma was already backing away. Down the hallway. Toward the front door. Ready to run. Richard moved fast. He knelt between Emma and the exit, hands up, non-threatening. Emma, wait. Please. Don't run. You don't want me here. I do. I promise I do. Victoria she's surprised. That's all. She called me a stray dog. From behind him, Richard heard Victoria's sharp intake of breath. That was wrong, Richard said quietly. She shouldn't have said that. But you're not leaving. You're safe here. Adults always lie. The words hung in the air. Then Emma's legs gave out. Just collapsed. Richard caught her before she hit the marble floor. She wasn't unconscious, just done. Done fighting. Done surviving. Done. Richard picked her up, this small broken child who weighed nothing, and carried her toward the stairs. As he passed Victoria, he said quietly, We're talking about this later. Victoria watched him go. Her red dress bright against the white walls. Her champagne forgotten on the side table. In the hallway mirror. She caught her reflection. Saw herself. Really saw herself. And for just a moment, something crossed her face. Something that might have been shame, but then it was gone. Did you hear what Victoria just revealed? You don't bring home a child like she's a stray dog. But here's what's terrifying. Emma heard it too. And she's heard it before. You can tell by how fast she shut down, how ready she was to run. This child knows what it's like to be unwanted. And Victoria just confirmed every fear Emma's ever had. If you've ever been the unwanted one in a family, a marriage, a home, comment below. Share your story. Because Emma needs to know she's not alone. And we need to remember why speaking up matters. Richard carried Emma upstairs to the guest room. The one that used to belong to his sister before she moved to New York 20 years ago to run an art gallery in Chelsea. Victoria had redecorated it 3 times, never satisfied. Currently it was minimalist Scandinavian, all whites and beiges. Furniture from design within reach, art that looked expensive because he set Emma on the bed. She immediately curled into herself, knees to chest, making herself small. Emma. Richard sat on the floor, putting himself below her eye level. Non-threatening. Look at me. She didn't. Please. Finally, her brown eyes met his. I want you here. Do you understand? Not because I feel sorry for you. Not because of guilt. Because I found you and now I can't unfind you. You're stuck in my head. And I don't walk away from things stuck in my head. Why not? Because that's not who I am. Emma studied him. Who are you? The question was more profound than she realized. Richard Morrison. Age 56. Net worth $340 million. Father. None. Husband. Failing. Human being. Unclear. I'm still figuring that out, he admitted. But I know I'm someone who doesn't leave kids on the street to die. Lots of people did. I'm not lots of people. Emma considered this. Then, your wife hates me. She doesn't hate you. She's just... Richard stopped. Couldn't finish the lie. She's difficult. I'm sorry. Will she hurt me? The question made Richard's blood freeze. No, absolutely not. I won't let her. You won't always be here. Too perceptive. This child was too damn perceptive. You're right. I travel for work sometimes. But Lydia's always here. She's our housekeeper. She's good. Safe. I promise. Emma nodded slowly. Not convinced, but willing to wait and see. There's a bathroom through there. Richard pointed. Shower, bath, whatever you want. Closet's empty. We'll get you clothes today. And Emma? You don't have to earn your place here. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be a kid. I don't remember how. Richard felt his throat close. Then we'll figure it out together. He left her there, closing the door softly. Downstairs, he found Victoria in her office-converted sunroom overlooking the infinity pool. All white furniture and gold accents and Instagram-ready bullshit. She was on her laptop. Pretending to work. We need to talk, Richard said. I have a board meeting at 10. Children's Hospital Foundation. Cancel it. Victoria's fingers stopped typing. She looked up, her blue eyes sharp. Excuse me. You called a traumatized child a stray dog. In front of her. We're talking. Now. Victoria closed her laptop slowly. Fine. You want to talk? Let's talk. You brought home a random child without consulting me. Your wife, your partner. The person who lives in this house. You would have said no. Of course I would have said no. Richard, we're not equipped for this. We don't have kids. We don't know kids. We have a lifestyle that doesn't include, what? People who need help. People who complicate things. Victoria stood, her red dress flowing. Do you know what she is? A liability. A responsibility. A permanent disruption to our lives. And you signed papers without thinking about how this affects me. How does this affect you, Victoria? You spend 6 hours a day at the gym and spa. You have lunch with friends. You plan parties. How exactly is Emma going to disrupt your schedule? The words came out harsher than Richard intended. But he didn't take them back. Victoria's face went very still. That's what you think I do? Nothing? I think you do charity work so you can post about it on Instagram. I think you attend galas so you can wear designer dresses. I think you married me for the lifestyle and tolerate me for the credit card. Silence. Heavy. Dangerous dot. Then Victoria smiled cold and sharp. You're right. Absolutely right. I married you for money. No one else is true. You married me because I look good at company functions and don't ask where you are when you're working late. We're both getting exactly what we signed up for. So don't act like I'm the villain here. You called a 7-year-old a stray dog. And you're using her to make yourself feel like a good person. We're both using people, Richard. The difference is I'm honest about it. Richard stared at his wife, this beautiful stranger who slept in his bed and felt nothing. Maybe our marriage is a transaction. But Emma's not. She's a kid who needs help. And I'm going to help her whether you like it or not. Then I guess we understand each other. Victoria picked up her phone, her champagne. I'll stay out of your way. You stay out of mine. And we'll see how long your savior complex lasts before you realize you're in over your head. She left. Richard stood alone in her Instagram-perfect office, surrounded by the carefully curated evidence of their empty marriage. His phone buzzed. Tom, his business partner, Hendersons are pissed you bailed last night. Called me this morning, asking if you were okay. What's going on? Richard typed back. Long story. Tell them I'll call this week. Tom? You good? Richard looked at the ceiling, where Emma was probably still curled in bed. Probably still scared. Probably still expecting to be abandoned. Getting there. He typed back. Lydia found him 20 minutes later. Lydia Ramirez, 62, from East LA, cleaning houses for wealthy families for 30 years. She'd been with the Morrisons for 2. Knew more about their marriage than they did. Mr. Morrison, the little one is in the shower. I left towels and some old clothes from Mrs. Morrison's niece. They might fit. Thank you, Lydia. She hesitated. Can I say something? Always. That child's been hurt. Bad. The way she walks like she's expecting someone to hit her. The way she flinches at loud sounds. I've seen it before. My cousin's daughter, she was in foster care before they got her. Same look. Richard nodded. I know. Mrs. Victoria. Lydia stopped. Started again. She's not happy about the girl being here. I noticed. Mr. Morrison, I shouldn't say this, but Lydia glanced toward the stairs, lowered her voice. Be careful. Mrs. Victoria. She don't like things that mess up her life. And that little girl? She's gonna mess things up. Just watch. You think Victoria would hurt her? Lydia's silence was answer enough. Richard spent the next 3 days working from home, learning to be responsible for another human. Emma woke before dawn, made her bed with military precision hospital corners, pillow perfectly centered. She ate breakfast in silence, cutting her food into precise pieces, never wasting anything. She didn't play. Didn't laugh. Didn't ask for things. She existed at the edges of the house, trying to take up no space. Lydia tried to draw her out. Mia, you want to help me bake cookies? Chocolate chip. Everyone loves chocolate chip. Emma nodded, followed Lydia to the kitchen. Measured ingredients with the precision of a chemist. When the cookies came out perfect, she didn't eat one. Just stared at them like they might disappear. Richard noticed. He noticed everything now. How Emma positioned herself near exits. How she tracked Victoria's movements through the house. How she never, ever relaxed. Victoria kept her distance. Polite. Appropriate. Cold. Good morning, Emma. Sleep well? That's nice that you helped Lydia. Be careful with that vase, it's expensive. Always watching. Always assessing. On the 3rd night, Richard found Emma in the library, a room nobody used except to impress houseguests. She'd pulled every book off the bottom shelf and was organizing them by color. Hey, kiddo. What are you doing? She didn't look up. Making it neat. It was neat before, but this is better. Organized. Richard knelt beside her. Emma, you don't have to organize things. You don't have to earn your place here by being useful. Then how do I earn it? You don't. You just exist. That's enough. Emma's hands paused on a blue book. That's not how it works. How it works. Living places. You have to be good. Quiet. Hopeful. They get rid of you. Richard felt something crack in his chest. Who taught you that? Emma shrugged. Everyone. Well, everyone's wrong. You don't have to earn love. It's not transactional. Emma looked at him finally, her brown eyes ancient. Everything's transactional. 7 years old and she understood the world better than Richard did. That night, after Emma was asleep, Richard lay in bed next to Victoria, 6 inches of empty mattress between them. A distance that had grown over 3 years from touching to tolerating to this. She organized the library today, Richard said to the ceiling. Victoria didn't look up from her iPad. Some charity gala spreadsheet. She thinks she has to earn the right to exist. Most people do. She's 7. Plenty of 7-year-olds understand how the world works. Victoria set down her iPad, turned off her lamp. You're getting attached. Would that be terrible? It would be if she leaves. She's not leaving. Richard. Victoria's voice was patient, like explaining something to a slow child. Child services will find her family eventually. Or place her somewhere. You can't keep her. She's not a puppy. Why does everyone keep saying that? Because you're acting like someone who found a puppy and decided to keep it without thinking about vet bills or training or the fact that puppies grow up. She's not a dog, Victoria. She's a person. Exactly. A person with trauma. With needs. With a past you know nothing about. What if she's violent? What if she steals? What if she's been abused so badly that she's broken beyond repair? Then we help her. Victoria laughed soft, sad. You can't fix broken people, Richard. Trust me. I've tried. The words hung in the air. Confession or accusation, Richard couldn't tell. Are we talking about Emma or us? Victoria didn't answer. Just turned away, facing the window. The city lights glittering below. Richard lay in the dark, listening to his wife breathe, and realized he was sharing a bed with a stranger. Had been for years. Emma just said something that should terrify every adult listening. Everything's transactional. She's 7. And she already knows that love is conditional, that belonging must be earned, that people are only kind when you're useful. Where did she learn this? Who taught a 7-year-old that her existence needs to be justified? Comment below if you were Emma, if you grew up believing you had to earn love instead of just receive it. Because I think a lot of us were Emma, and we grew up into adults who still don't believe we're enough. Day 7. Richard had a board meeting. He couldn't reschedule Morrison Construction's Q4 review. Investors flying in from Singapore and London. He'd be gone 8 hours max. He didn't want to leave Emma. But business was business. I'll be back tonight, he told Emma over breakfast. Lydia's pancakes. Emma was eating more now. Still carefully. But more. Lydia's here. You'll be okay. Emma nodded. But her small hands gripped her fork tighter. Hey. Richard knelt beside her chair. What's wrong? Nothing. Emma, you'll come back? The question destroyed him. Of course I'll come back. I promise. By dinner time. People break promises. I don't. Emma studied his face, looking for the lie. When she didn't find it, she nodded. Okay. Richard kissed her forehead. When had that become natural? And left. The board meeting was brutal. 6 hours of PowerPoints and financial projections and questions about the San Francisco development. Richard answered mechanically, his mind elsewhere. He checked his phone during breaks. No missed calls. No texts. Everything fine. At 4 p.m., his assistant Michelle knocked on the conference room door. Mr. Morrison? Sorry to interrupt. Lydia's on the phone. She says it's urgent. Richard's stomach dropped. He excused himself. Took the call in the hallway. Lydia? Mr. Morrison. Her voice was shaking. You need to come home. Now. What happened? Is Emma? Emma's fine. Physically. But Mrs. Victoria. Lydia's voice dropped to a whisper. She did something. To Emma. I don't know what exactly, but the child's locked in her room. Won't come out, won't talk to me. And Mrs. Victoria's acting like nothing happened. I'm on my way. Richard left the board meeting without explanation, ignoring Tom shouting after him. He broke speed limits on the 405 on Sunset. Didn't care. Pulled into his driveway in 45 minutes, would have been an hour in normal traffic. The house was quiet. Too quiet. Lydia met him at the door, wringing her hands. She's upstairs. Won't open the door. I heard her crying earlier, but now it's silent, and that's worse, Mr. Morrison. Silence is worse. Where's Victoria? Went out. Spa appointment. Like nothing happened. Richard took the stairs 3 at a time. Emma's door was closed. He knocked. Emma? Sweetheart, it's me. Can you open the door? Nothing. Emma, I'm not mad. Whatever happened, you're not in trouble. I promise. Just please open the door. A long silence. Then a small voice. Go away. I can't do that. You promised you'd come back. You lied. I'm here now. I came as soon as Lydia called. Emma, please. She said you wouldn't come. She said you're busy with important things and I'm not important. Richard's hands clenched into fists. Who said that? Silence. Emma, who said that? Mrs. Victoria. Richard pressed his forehead against the door. What else did she say? That I'm temporary. That you'll get tired of me. That I should get used to being alone because that's what I am. Alone. Each word was a knife. That's not true. None of it. Then why weren't you here? Because I had to work. But I came back. I promised I'd come back and I did. This time. Richard closed his eyes. Open the door, Emma. Please. After an eternity, he heard the lock click. The door opened a crack. Emma's face appeared, tear-stained, red-eyed, devastated. Richard knelt. Can I come in? She nodded. Her room looked like a crime scene. Except there was no violence. Just sadness. Emma had pulled all the blankets off her bed, built a fort in the corner, hidden herself. Classic trauma response, creating a safe space when everything else feels dangerous. Richard sat on the floor. Didn't approach her fort. Tell me what happened. After you left, Mrs. Victoria asked me to help her clean. Okay. Double quotes, but I couldn't do it right. The way she wanted. I tried, but Emma's voice broke. She got mad. Did she hit you? No. Touch you? No. She just... Emma struggled for words. She made me feel small. Like I was stupid. Like I was wrong for existing. Emotional abuse. Harder to prove than physical. More damaging long-term. What exactly did she say? Emma shook her head. I don't want to get her in trouble. Emma, look at me. Richard waited until her brown eyes met his. You're not getting her in trouble. She's getting herself in trouble. What did Victoria say to you? That I'm messy. That I don't belong in nice places. That she can see why no one wanted me before. Richard stood slowly. Stay here. Where are you going? To talk to Victoria. Don't. Emma scrambled out of her fort. Don't make it worse. Please. I'll be better. I'll try harder. No. Richard's voice was hard. You're perfect. She's cruel. Those aren't the same thing. He found Victoria in the master suite, fresh from the spa, applying some $400 face cream. She looked up when he entered, smiled. Oh, you're home early. How was the meeting? What did you say to Emma? Victoria's smile dimmed. I'm sorry? Emma's locked in her room, crying. Says you told her she doesn't belong here. That no one wants her. What the fuck is wrong with you? Richard, calm down. Don't tell me to calm down. Answer the question. Victoria set down her cream carefully. I simply explained the reality of her situation. That she's here temporarily. That she shouldn't get too comfortable. I thought honesty was important. Honesty? You told a traumatized child that she's unwanted. She is unwanted. That's why she was on the street. Richard moved before he could think, not to hurt her, just to put himself between Victoria and the door. Blocking her exit. Making her face this. Get away from me, Victoria said quietly. Not until you explain why you're abusing a child. I'm not abusing anyone. I'm setting boundaries. She needs to understand. She's 7. Exactly. 7 and already manipulating you. Playing the victim. Making you feel like a hero. Can't you see what she's doing? Richard stared at his wife. You actually believe that? Of course I believe it. I wasn't born yesterday, Richard. I know how the world works. That child is using you. For what? Food? Shelter? Basic human kindness? For money. For stability. For whatever she can get before she's back on the street where she belongs. The words hung in the air. Then Richard said, very quietly, pack your things. Victoria blinked. What? Pack your things. I want you out of this house by tomorrow morning. You're kicking me out? I'm divorcing you. My lawyer will contact yours. But tonight, you leave. Victoria laughed sharp, disbelieving. Over what? Over nothing? Over abuse. Over cruelty. Over the fact that you told a 7-year-old she belongs on the street. I didn't say it like that. I don't care how you said it. The fact that you said it at all tells me everything I need to know about who you are. And I don't want you near Emma. I don't want you in this house. I don't want you in my life. Richard. Victoria's composure cracked. You can't be serious. Over some random kid? Her name is Emma. And yes, I'm absolutely serious. You'll regret this. The only thing I regret is not seeing who you were 3 years ago. Victoria grabbed her purse, her phone. Fine, I'll stay at the Beverly Hills Hotel. My lawyer will be in touch. Looking forward to it. She left. Heels clicking down the hallway, down the stairs, out the door. The gate opened, closed. Silenced. Richard stood in his empty bedroom, surrounded by Victoria's abandoned things, expensive creams, designer clothes, a life carefully curated for Instagram. All of it meaningless. He went back to Emma's room. She was still in her fort, peeking out. She's gone, Richard said. Forever? Forever. Emma crawled out slowly. You picked me. Of course I picked you. Over your wife. She stopped being my wife the moment she hurt you. Richard sat on the floor again. Emma, I need you to understand something. You're not temporary. You're not a guest. This is your home. I'm adopting you. Officially. Legally. Emma Morrison. My daughter. Forever. You mean it? I've never meant anything more in my life. Emma launched herself at him. First time she'd initiated physical contact. Richard caught her, held her while she cried. Not sad tears. Relief tears. The kind you cry when the waiting finally ends. Richard just did what most people don't have the courage to do. He chose a vulnerable child over his marriage, over his comfort, over everything. And Victoria's mask just completely shattered. Did you catch what she said? She belongs on the street. That's not anger talking. That's who Victoria really is. If you've ever had to choose between protecting someone vulnerable and keeping the peace, tell me your story in the comments. Because that choice, that's the moment that defines who you actually are. That night, Emma slept in Richard's room. Not in the bed. She wasn't ready for that, but in a nest of blankets on the floor beside him. Close enough to know she wasn't alone. Richard lay awake, staring at the ceiling, processing what he'd just done. Kicked out his wife. Committed to raising a traumatized child. Destroyed his life as he knew it, and felt more at peace than he had in years. The next morning, Lydia made pancakes. Emma ate 3. Progress. Mr. Morrison, Lydia said, refilling coffee. Mrs. Victoria's lawyer called. She's contesting the divorce. Says you can't kick her out without cause. Child abuse is cause. She's claiming there was no abuse. That you're having a breakdown. Of course she was. Classic move. Deny, deflect, gaslight. Let her claim whatever she wants. My lawyer's better than hers. Richard looked at Emma, who was carefully cutting her pancakes into perfect squares. Emma, we need to take you to a doctor today. A special kind of doctor. A therapist. Someone who helps kids process hard things. Emma's fork paused. Am I broken? No, sweetheart. You're hurt. That's different. Broken can't be fixed. Hurt can heal. What if I don't heal? Then we figure it out together. Dr. Sarah Patel's office was in Santa Monica, near the beach. Specialized in childhood trauma. Tom's ex-wife had recommended her after their daughter's car accident. The waiting room was designed for kids' books, toys, beanbag chairs. Emma sat stiffly on a regular chair, hands folded. Waiting. When Dr. Patel emerged, 40-something, warm smile. Casual clothes instead of the intimidating doctor uniform, Emma relaxed fractionally. You must be Emma. I'm Dr. Sarah. Want to come chat with me? Emma looked at Richard. I'll be right here, he promised. Emma followed Dr. Patel into the office. Richard waited, scrolling through work emails he couldn't focus on. 45 minutes later, Dr. Patel emerged alone. Mr. Morrison, can we talk? They went to a consultation room. Dr. Patel pulled up a chair, her face serious. Emma's been through significant trauma. She's exhibiting classic signs of complex PTSD, hypervigilance, difficulty trusting, emotional regulation issues. She also has what we call earned secure attachment. She's learned that adults are dangerous, but she's chosen to trust you anyway. That's huge! Is she going to be okay? Define okay. Will she ever forget what happened to her? No. Will she learn to process it? To build a life despite it? Probably, with support. With time. With you. Richard nodded. What do I do? Be consistent. Be patient. Don't push her to talk about her past until she's ready. Create routine. Kids with trauma need predictability. And Mr. Morrison? Get yourself a therapist too. You're taking on a lot. I can handle it. That's not the same as processing it. Fair point. When Emma emerged, she looked lighter. Dr. Sarah's nice. Yeah? She didn't make me talk about bad things. We just played Uno. Richard smiled. O's important. They went to the beach after Emma's first time seeing the ocean. She stood at the edge, waves lapping at her toes, eyes wide. It's so big, she whispered. Biggest thing on earth. It makes me feel small. Everyone feels small at the ocean. That's kind of the point. They walked along the sand, Emma collecting shells, Richard watching her. This small person who'd been a stranger 10 days ago. Now his daughter. His phone buzzed. Tom, Victoria's lawyer is saying you abandoned her. That you're unfit? They're going to fight the divorce and try to get Emma removed from your custody. Richard typed back. Let them try. Tom, this is going to get ugly. Richard looked at Emma, who was showing him a perfect sand dollar. Her face lit with genuine joy. Already is, he typed. Already is. I need you to see this moment. Emma at the ocean. Finally safe enough to feel small without feeling afraid. That's what healing looks like. Not dramatic. Not sudden. Just a 7-year-old collecting shells on a beach, knowing someone will still be there when she turns around. But here's what's about to happen. Victoria's not done. She's lawyering up, claiming Richard is unfit, trying to take Emma away. And the system? The system believes beautiful, wealthy women in red dresses over traumatized kids. So here's my question. If you were on a jury, would you believe Emma or Victoria? Comment below. And subscribe if you want to see how this war ends. Because it's about to get brutal. The custody battle started exactly how Richard expected: ugly, expensive, and public. Victoria's lawyer was Martin Shepard, senior partner at Latham and Watkins, the kind of attorney who billed $1,200 an hour and earned every penny. He specialized in high-net-worth divorces where reputation mattered more than money. Richard's lawyer was Jessica Chen, 42, former LA County prosecutor who'd switched to family law after seeing too many kids destroyed by the system. She was cheaper than Shepard, meaner, and gave exactly 0 fucks about Victoria's Instagram following. They met for the first deposition at Shepard's offices in Century City, 72nd floor. Views that cost more than most people's houses. Victoria sat across the conference table in a bright red Chanel suit, hair perfect, makeup flawless. Playing the wronged wife for the court reporter. Let's begin, Shepard said, his voice smooth as aged whiskey. Mr. Morrison, you removed my client from her home without warning or legal cause. You've subsequently filed for divorce citing abuse. Can you specify what abuse occurred? Richard leaned forward. She told a 7-year-old child that she belonged on the street. That she was unwanted. That I would eventually abandon her. Allegedly told her. Emma heard it. Lydia, our housekeeper, witnessed the aftermath. Mrs. Morrison says she was simply establishing boundaries with a child who was disrupting their household. Jessica cut in. By telling her she's trash. That's not boundaries, Martin. That's emotional abuse. That's your client's interpretation. Shepard pulled out an iPad, slid it across the table. This is Mrs. Morrison's Instagram from the past year. Charity work with children.
Fundraising for Children's Hospital, LA. Volunteer work at foster care centers.
Does this look like someone who abuses children? Richard stared at the screen.
Photo after photo of Victoria holding kids, smiling, looking maternal.
All performance. All lies. Social media isn't evidence of character, Jessica said. It's evidence of good PR. And Mr. Morrison's sudden acquisition of a random child isn't evidence of a savior complex? Possibly a breakdown? Victoria spoke for the first time, her voice soft, wounded. I loved Richard. I welcomed that little girl into our home despite my reservations.
But he became obsessed. Chose her over our marriage.
Over me. And now he's trying to make me the villain to justify his midlife crisis. The words were perfect, practiced, designed for the court reporter's transcript. Richard felt rage building. You called her a stray dog. I never said that. Emma heard you. Emma's a traumatized child who may have misunderstood. Bullshit. Richard stood. You know exactly what you said.
And you know exactly what you did. And I'm going to make sure everyone else knows too.
Mr. Morrison. Shepard's voice was ice. I'd advise you to sit down and control yourself.
Outbursts like this support our contention that you're emotionally unstable.
Jessica touched Rick's arm. Rick, sit. He sat. But his hands were shaking. The deposition continued for 3 more hours. Shepard picked apart everything: Richard's work schedule, his lack of parenting experience,
his impulsive decision to take guardianship of Emma without consulting his wife.
You work 80-hour weeks, Shepard said. You travel constantly for business.
Who's actually caring for this child while you're building your empire? Lydia. And I've cut my hours significantly. For how long?
Until the novelty wears off? Forever.
Mr. Morrison, you're 56 years old.
You've never had children. You've been married twice. Both marriages failed. What makes you think you're equipped to raise a traumatized 7-year-old? Richard looked Shepard dead in the eye. Because I'm the only one who wants to. Silence. Then Shepard smiled. That's all for today. Richard drove home in silence, Jessica's words echoing. He's going to argue you're unstable. That Emma should go into the foster system for her own protection. We need to show you're fit, stable. That she's thriving with you. She is thriving. Then we need to prove it. At home, Emma was in the kitchen with Lydia, making cookies. She looked up when Richard entered, reading his face instantly. Bad day? Long day. He kissed her forehead. How was yours? Good. Dr. Sarah came here. We talked. Yeah? What about? Stuff. Emma returned to rolling cookie dough. She says I'm doing good. Healing good. Richard looked at Lydia, who nodded confirmation. That's great, sweetheart. Emma paused. Are they going to take me away? His stomach dropped. Who told you that? Nobody. I just know how it works. When adults fight about kids, the kids disappear. Richard knelt beside her, flour dusting his expensive suit. Listen to me. Nobody's taking you anywhere. I promise. You can't promise that. Judges decide. 7 years old and already cynical about the legal system. What had this child been through? Then I'll fight until the judge decides you stay. Okay? Emma studied him. Then nodded.
Okay. But her eyes said she'd heard promises before. Here's what's happening right now.
Victoria is using the system like a weapon.
She's got Instagram posts and charity photos and a $1,200 an hour lawyer, who knows exactly how to make her look like the victim.
Meanwhile, Emma, the actual victim, is already preparing to lose.
Again. Because that's what the system
teaches kids like Emma. Adults lie. Promises break, and you're always one bad decision away from losing everything. If you've ever watched someone manipulate the system while the truth got buried, comment below. Tell me how it ended. Because I need you to understand what Emma's up against here. Week 2 of the custody battle. Richard got a call from Emma's school. He'd enrolled her at Crossroads School in Santa Monica Progressive.
Expensive, the kind of place where celebrities sent their kids to get educated without being photographed.
Emma had been there for exactly 5 days. Mr. Morrison, this is Principal Davidson. We need you to come in. There's been an incident with Emma. Richard's heart stopped. Is she hurt? No, but there was an altercation with another student. Can you be here in 30 minutes? He made it in 20. Principal Davidson's office was all warm woods and abstract art, designed to feel non-threatening.
Emma sat in a chair, small and hunched. Another girl sat across from her, older, maybe 10, blonde,
wearing a glossier hoodie that cost $200. Mr. Morrison. Thank you for coming. Davidson was 50-something, kind eyes, weathered by years of dealing with wealthy parents and complicated kids. Emma had a physical altercation with Madison during recess. Richard looked at Emma. What happened? Emma didn't look up. Madison spoke instead. She pushed me. For no reason. I was just talking to my friends and she shoved me into the sandbox. Emma? Richard kept his voice level. Is that true? She was talking about me, Emma whispered. I wasn't. Madison's voice rose.
I was talking about my mom's charity gala and she freaked out.
What exactly were you saying? Davidson asked. Madison hesitated.
I was telling my friends about the gala.
About the foster kids who came. And I said, she stopped. What did you say, Madison? Davidson's voice was patient but firm. I said foster kids are always weird. That they have issues. That's why nobody wants them. Madison looked at Emma. I didn't know you were a foster kid. I'm not a foster kid, Emma said quietly. I'm adopted. Same thing. It's not the same thing. Emma. Richard touched her shoulder gently. It's okay. It's not okay. She said nobody wants foster kids. Like we're broken. Like we're trash. And everyone just laughed. Emma's voice cracked. So I pushed her. And I'd do it again. Silence in the office. Then Davidson said carefully, Madison, do you understand why Emma was upset? I guess? I guess isn't an answer. What you said was hurtful. It perpetuates harmful stereotypes about children in the foster system. I need you to apologize. But she pushed me. Madison. Apologize. Madison rolled her eyes. Sorry. Emma? Davidson turned. Pushing isn't okay, even when someone says something cruel. Can you apologize for the pushing? Emma's jaw was set. Richard recognized that look, the same stubborn resistance he'd had at her age, when his dad told him to apologize to rich kids at school who'd mocked his secondhand clothes. Emma, he said softly. The pushing, that's the part we apologize for. Not for being angry. The anger's valid. Emma looked at him. Then at Madison. Sorry I pushed you. Thank you. Davidson stood. Madison, you're dismissed. Emma, Mr. Morrison. Let's talk. After Madison left, Davidson's demeanor shifted, less principal, more ally. Emma, I read your file. I know you've been through significant trauma. And I want you to know Crossroads is a safe place. But you have to use your words, not your hands. Can you do that? Emma nodded. Good, now go to class. Mr. Morrison and I need to talk. Emma left. Richard stayed. She's struggling, Davidson said once they were alone. The other kids can be cruel. They don't mean it, but wealth creates its own kind of ignorance. They don't understand what it's like to have nothing. Should I pull her out? Find somewhere else? No, she needs to learn to exist in this world. But she needs support. Therapy's helping. Dr. Patel says she's making progress. Good. Keep that up. And Mr. Morrison? Davidson leaned forward. I heard about your custody situation. Victoria Morrison is on our board of directors. Richard's stomach dropped. Of course she is. She's been asking questions. About Emma's behavior. Her adjustment. I want you to know I'm not feeding her information. But she has access to board meetings where your donation history comes up, where Emma's enrollment comes up. She's looking for ammunition. To prove I'm an unfit parent. To prove Emma's disruptive. Davidson pulled out a folder. These are incident reports from Emma's first week. She got in a fight on day 1, verbal, not physical. She had a panic attack in the bathroom on day 3.
She refused to participate in PA because she didn't want a change in the locker room.
And now this. Victoria's lawyer could argue she's not adjusting well. She's adjusting to being safe for the first time in her life. That takes time. I know. But a lawyer won't see it that way. They'll see a troubled kid. Davidson slid the folder across. I'm giving you this because you should know what Victoria knows.
And because I believe you're doing the right thing.
But you need to be prepared. Richard took the folder. Thank you. One more thing. Emma told her therapist something yesterday. Dr. Patel called me as a courtesy. Emma said if she has to go to foster care, she run away. That she'd rather live on the street than go back into the system. Richard's hands clenched. She's 7. She's 7 and she's already planning her escape route. That's trauma, Mr. Morrison. And you're fighting against a system that sees trauma as a liability, not a reason for compassion. Richard drove Emma home in silence. She stared out the window, small hands folded in her lap. You're mad, she said finally. I'm not mad. You're quiet. Adults are quiet when they're mad.
I'm not mad, Emma. I'm sad.
She looked at him. Why? Because you shouldn't have to defend yourself against kids who don't understand. Because you shouldn't be planning escape routes in case I lose custody. Because you're 7 and you've already learned the world is cruel. It is cruel. It doesn't have to be. It is to kids like me. Richard pulled into their driveway, turned off the engine. What's kids like you mean? Kids nobody wanted first. The words hit like a physical blow. Emma, look at me. He waited until her brown eyes met his. I wanted you. Not first, not second. I wanted you from the moment I saw you. And I'm never stopping wanting you, never. Do you understand? She nodded. But her eyes said she was waiting for the inevitable disappointment. That night, after Emma finally fell asleep on the floor next to Richard's bed again, in her blanket nest Richard called Jessica. She tried to see Emma today. Brought a photographer. The whole thing was staged. Of course it was. Shepard's building a narrative.
Caring stepmother trying to maintain relationship with child.
Controlling father preventing access. I'm protecting Emma. I know. But we need to prove Victoria's dangerous. Right now it's your word against hers. Emma's word should count. Emma 7. Family court judges are skeptical of children's testimony.
They think kids are easily manipulated. So, what do we do?
Jessica was quiet for a moment. We document everything. Every text Victoria sends. Every interaction. And we hope she slips up. And if she doesn't, then we prepare for trial. And Rick trials are ugly. They'll put Emma on the stand. They'll make her repeat her trauma to strangers. Are you ready for that? Richard looked at Emma sleeping on his floor, small body finally relaxed. I don't have a choice. No, Jessica said softly. You don't. Let me ask you something. Why is Victoria fighting for custody? She doesn't want Emma. She proved that. So why? Because Emma is leverage. Because if she gets Emma, she gets alimony, child support, control. Victoria doesn't want the kid, she wants to win. And the system lets people like her weaponize children because nobody's asking what's best for Emma. They're asking what looks best in court. If this makes you furious, if you've seen the system protect the wrong people, tell me in the comments. Share your story. Because Emma needs people to see through Victoria's performance. Morrison Construction was suffering. Richard's partners noticed. Tom cornered him after a board meeting. Rick, we need to talk. Not now. Now. The San Francisco project is 3 weeks behind because you missed the investor call. The Orange County development is stalled because you haven't approved the revised budget. And Singapore's threatening to pull out entirely because you haven't returned their emails. What's going on?
I'm dealing with personal issues.
Personal issues don't tank a $340 million company.
Tom pulled him into a private office.
Look, I get it. The custody thing.
But you're letting Morrison Construction die while you play house with a kid you've known for a month.
Richard's jaw tightened. Her name is Emma.
I don't care if her name is Mother Teresa. You're destroying everything we've built. I built this company.
And I helped.
And now I'm watching you throw it away for what?
A savior complex? Guilt?
Love, Tom, it's called love.
Tom laughed bitter, sad.
Rick, you don't know her.
You don't know what she's been through.
What if she's damaged beyond repair?
What if she turns violent?
What if,
Get out.
what?
Get out of my office.
Out of my company. You're fired.
Tom's face went red. You can't fire me.
I own 30%, and I own 70. Board votes with me.
You're out. Richard opened the door. Security will escort you. You're making a mistake.
I've made a lot of mistakes. This isn't one of them.
After Tom left escorted by uncomfortable security guards, Richard sat alone in his office. Looking at LA sprawling below. His phone rang. Emma's school.
Mr. Morrison, it's Principal Davidson.
Emma's having a panic attack. Can you come? He was there in 15 minutes. Breaking every speed limit. Emma was in the nurse's office, hyperventilating into a paper bag, tears streaming. Davidson stood nearby, helpless. Emma. Richard knelt.
What happened?
She couldn't speak. Just pointed at her backpack. Richard opened it.
Inside a note, written in child's handwriting, foster freak. Nobody wants you. His vision went red.
Who wrote this?
We don't know,
Davidson said quietly. Emma found it in her desk after lunch. Find out.
Mr. Morrison, find out. Richard scooped Emma up.
We're going home. She can't keep leaving school every time something upsets her. Watch me. In the car, Emma finally spoke.
I'm sorry. For what?
For being a problem.
For making you lose work.
Stop. You're not a problem. You're my daughter.
And anyone who says otherwise is wrong.
Emma curled into herself, small in the passenger seat of his Mercedes.
Maybe Victoria's right. Maybe I'm too broken. You're not broken.
Then why doesn't anyone want me? Richard pulled over.
Right there on Pacific Coast Highway, hazards on, overlooking the ocean. Emma, look at me.
He waited until her brown eyes met his. I want you. Every single day. Even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard.
Because that's what love is.
It's not wanting someone when they're easy. It's wanting them when they're difficult, scared, traumatized, lashing away. And I want you. Always. Do you understand? Emma's lip trembled.
What if the judge says I have to go?
Then we'll fight. And if we lose, which we won't, we'll fight again. And again. Until they understand that you belong with me. Why? Because you're mine.
And I'm yours.
That's how family works. Emma launched herself across the center console, hugging him fiercely. I love you, Dad. First time she'd said it without prompting. I love you too, kiddo. So much. They sat there on PCH, traffic flowing around them, ocean waves crashing below. Father and daughter. Chosen family.
Richard's phone buzzed.
Jessica, trial date set. 3 weeks. Get ready.
Richard just sacrificed everything.
His business partner. His company's stability. His reputation. All for Emma. And I need you to understand this is what real love looks like. Not Instagram posts. Not charity galas. Not pretty words. It's choosing someone when the choice costs you everything. It's showing up when showing up destroys your life.
Comment chosen. If you've ever been chosen like this, or if you've done the choosing.
Because Emma just learned what family actually means.
And 3 weeks from now, a judge is going to decide if it's enough. The 3 weeks before trial passed in a blur of preparation.
Jessica drilled Richard on questions Shepard would ask. Dr. Patel wrote reports documenting Emma's progress.
Lydia gave a deposition swearing Victoria had been cruel. But
Victoria's team was building their case too. They subpoenaed Richard's work records proving he'd missed
70 hours of work in 3 weeks. They interviewed parents at Crossroads collecting stories about Emma's behavioral problems. They even found Richard's first wife,
Karen, who gave a statement saying he'd chosen work over family before. And would again.
"She's lying," Richard told Jessica after reading Karen's deposition.
"Doesn't matter. Shepard will use it to show a pattern."
Man who abandons commitments. "I never abandoned Karen. She left me after you missed her father's funeral for a work meeting."
Richard went quiet.
He had missed that funeral.
Singapore deal. Seemed important at the time. "They're going to argue you're doing the same thing to Emma," Jessica continued.
"That you'll care until it's inconvenient.
Until work calls.
Until she's too difficult."
"That's not true."
"Then we need Emma to testify. To tell the judge she feels safe with you."
Richard thought about Emma on his floor, sleeping in a blanket nest because bed still felt unsafe.
"She's 7. That'll traumatize her." "Richard, everything about this traumatizes her."
"But if she doesn't speak, Victoria wins."
The night before trial, Richard couldn't sleep.
He found Emma in the kitchen at 2 a.m., eating cookies Lydia had made. "Couldn't sleep either?"
he asked. She shook her head. Richard sat beside her.
"Tomorrow's going to be hard. I know. You're going to have to talk to the judge.
Tell him what happened with Victoria. Will she be there?"
"Yes." Emma's small hands clenched.
"Will she look at me?"
"Probably. I'm scared." "Me too."
Emma looked at him surprised. "You're scared?"
"Terrified.
Because I might lose you.
And that would break me. If I have to go away." Emma's voice was tiny. "Will you still love me?"
Richard felt his throat close.
"Always, even if they take you. Even if I never see you again."
"You're my daughter."
"That doesn't change. Promise?"
"Promise."
Emma climbed into his lap, something she rarely did, touch still difficult. "I'll be brave tomorrow." "You're already brave."
"I'll be braver." They sat in the dark kitchen, eating stolen cookies, preparing for war. The courtroom was downtown LA, Judge Patricia Hammond presiding. 50-something, no nonsense, 20 years on family court bench. She'd seen every custody battle, variation, amicable divorces,
Violent separations. Parental alienation. Abuse allegations.
Victoria arrived in her bright red Dior suit.
Hair perfect, flanked by Shepard and 2 associates.
She looked like she was heading to a board meeting,
not a custody trial. Richard wore his cream Brioni suit, Emma beside him in her best bright cobalt blue dress.
She was pale, trembling, holding Richard's hand so tight his fingers went numb.
"All rise," the bailiff called. Judge Hammond entered, surveyed the room with eyes that missed nothing.
"Be seated. We're here for Morrison v. Morrison. Custody determination for minor child Emma Morrison. Mr. Shepard, you may begin."
Shepard stood, commanding the room.
"Your Honor,
this case is about a man experiencing a midlife crisis who made an impulsive decision that's harming a vulnerable child.
Richard Morrison found Emma on the street and, without proper vetting or preparation, brought her into his home. He then kicked out his wife, a woman with extensive charity work, history helping children, and is now trying to claim sole custody of a child he's known for exactly 6 weeks.
6 weeks.
Shepard made it sound like nothing.
Mr. Morrison works 80-hour weeks. He has no parenting experience. His first marriage failed because he prioritized work over family.
And Emma herself is exhibiting behavioral problems at school, fights, panic attacks, refusal to participate. This is not a stable environment for a traumatized child.
Shepard called his first witness, Karen Morrison, Richard's first wife. Karen walked in looking exactly as Richard remembered, older now. Gray in her hair, but same sad eyes. "Mrs. Morrison, how long were you married to Richard Morrison?"
11 years.
"And why did that marriage end?" "Because Richard chose his company over me. Over us. He missed my father's funeral for a business meeting."
Missed our anniversary 5 years in a row.
I wanted children.
He said after the next project.
Then the next. Then the next.
Finally, I realized there would always be a next project.
Do you believe Richard is capable of prioritizing a child over his work?
No, I don't.
Jessica cross-examined.
Mrs. Morrison, isn't it true you remarried 6 months after divorcing Richard?
Yes. To a man you'd been having an affair with during your marriage?
Karen flushed.
That's not. Answer the question.
We were separated. Answer the question.
Yes. So you left Richard, not the other way around.
And you left him for someone else. Yet you're testifying about his commitment issues.
Objection, Shepard called.
Relevance.
Sustained. Move on, Miss Chen. Jessica smiled.
She'd made her point. Next witness. Principal Davidson. Shepard tried to paint Emma as disruptive.
Davidson wouldn't play. Is it true Emma Morrison has been involved in multiple incidents at Crossroads School?
Yes.
Physical altercations? She pushed a student who called foster children weird and unwanted. Emma reacted to bullying. She used violence. She defended herself emotionally against a cruel comment. Context matters, Mr. Shepard. Does Emma Morrison exhibit signs of behavioral problems? Davidson leaned forward. Emma Morrison exhibits signs of complex trauma. She's cautious, hypervigilant, and struggles with trust. That's not behavioral problems.
That's surviving.
And with Richard Morrison's support, she's making remarkable progress. Shepard tried to redirect. Davidson shut him down every time. Finally, Your Honor, I'd like to call Emma Morrison to testify. The courtroom went silent. Richard's hand tightened on Emma's. You don't have to. Emma stood. Yes, I do. She walked to the stand, small in the big chair.
The bailiff brought a children's Bible for the oath. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Emma's voice was barely audible. Shepard approached, his voice gentle. Playing to the judge. Emma, I know this is scary.
But I just have a few questions. Okay?
Emma nodded. When you lived with Mr. and Mrs. Morrison, did Mrs. Morrison ever hurt you? Yes. Physically?
No, with words. What did she say?
Emma's eyes found Victoria. Held her gaze. She said I belonged on the street. That nobody wanted me. That I should get used to being alone. Is it possible you misunderstood? I didn't misunderstand. I heard her. So did Lydia. Emma, Mr. Morrison works a lot, doesn't he? He used to. But he still works? Yes, but he comes home now. Every day. For dinner. What happens when he has to travel? For work? He doesn't. He stopped traveling. Forever? Or just for now? Emma hesitated. The trap was visible. Emma, isn't it possible that once the excitement wears off, Mr. Morrison will go back to his old life? And you'll be alone again? No. How can you be sure? Because he promised. And Dad keeps his promises. The word Dad echoed in the courtroom. You call him Dad? Yes. After 6 weeks. After he saved my life. Shepard changed tactics. Emma, do you remember anything about your life before Mr. Morrison found you? Emma's face went carefully blank. No. Nothing? No family? No home? No. Isn't that convenient? Objection. Jessica stood. Counsel is badgering a 7-year-old. Sustained. Mr. Shepard, careful. No further questions. Jessica approached Emma gently. Emma, why do you want to stay with Richard? Because he's my dad. What makes him your dad? Because, Emma's voice broke. Because he chose me. When nobody else did. And he keeps choosing me. Every day. Even when I'm scared or sad or difficult. He doesn't leave. He stays. That's what dads do. Richard felt tears on his face. Didn't bother hiding them. Thank you, Emma. Jessica smiled. No further questions. Judge Hammond looked at Emma for a long moment. Emma, One question from me. Do you feel safe with Richard Morrison?
Yes.
Do you want to stay with him?
Yes, please, please don't take me away.
Thank you. You may step down.
Emma just did the hardest thing a 7-year-old can do. She looked her abuser in the eye and told the truth. She sat in that enormous witness chair and said, "Dad keeps his promises, even though every adult in her life,
before Richard broke theirs.
And now everything, her entire future, depends on whether one judge believes a traumatized child or a woman in a $5,000 suit.
If you're praying people, now's the time.
If you're not, send good thoughts.
Because in about 60 seconds, Judge Hammond is going to decide if love is enough.
Comment, "Stay strong, Emma," if you're with her. She needs to feel that support, even if she never reads these comments.
We need to witness her courage. Judge Hammond reviewed her notes.
The courtroom was silent, that specific courtroom silence where everyone holds their breath. Finally, I'll hear closing arguments. Mr. Shepard?
Shepard stood, his voice measured. Your Honor, this case presents a clear choice. On one side, we have Victoria Morrison, established, stable, with a proven track record of child welfare work.
A woman who welcomed Emma into her home, despite reservations, who tried to maintain boundaries, who has been systematically excluded from this child's life by a controlling husband.
On the other side,
we have Richard Morrison, a workaholic, with no parenting experience, who made an impulsive decision and is now doubling down rather than admitting he's in over his head.
Emma may feel safe now. But what happens in 6 months?
A year? When Richard returns to his 80-hour work weeks?
When the novelty of parenting wears off?
Your Honor, the state has excellent foster programs. Emma could be placed with experienced foster parents who specialize in trauma. She could receive professional care, not amateur care from a businessman playing house.
That's what's best for Emma. Shepard sat.
Richard felt sick. Jessica stood.
Your Honor, Mr. Shepard just called Emma Morrison a novelty.
A project. Something Richard will tire of like a new car. But let's look at what Richard has actually done.
He stopped his Mercedes on Sunset Boulevard when everyone else kept driving.
He spent the night in a hospital with a stranger because she needed him.
He brought her home knowing it would complicate his life.
He cut his work hours by 60%.
He fired his business partner for calling Emma damaged. He chose divorce over sending Emma away.
And yes, he made these decisions quickly.
Because Emma was dying.
There wasn't time for committees and background checks. There was only time to save a life. Jessica approached the bench.
Your Honor,
the foster system is overloaded.
Kids wait years for adoptive families. Emma has one now.
A father who loves her so much he restructured his entire existence.
And Mr. Shepard wants to take her away because Richard didn't fill out enough forms first? Because he acted on compassion instead of protocol.
Emma calls him Dad. She sleeps on his floor because she feels safe near him. She's gaining weight, going to therapy, learning to trust.
That's not amateur care. That's love.
That's love. And love, real, committed, unconditional love. That's what Emma's never had. That's what she has now.
And taking it away would be cruel. Jessica sat. Richard couldn't read Judge Hammond's face.
I'll take a 30-minute recess to make my decision.
Judge Hammond stood.
Court is adjourned. The 30 minutes felt like 30 hours. Richard sat with Emma in his side room, neither speaking. Emma held his hand, her small palms sweaty with fear. Jessica paced.
She's taking too long.
That's either really good or really bad. Which one?
I don't know.
At minute 32, the bailiff called them back. Judge Hammond sat at her bench, reading glasses on, looking at documents Richard couldn't see.
I've reviewed the evidence.
Testimony from both sides.
Emma's statement. And I've made my decision. Richard's heart stopped.
Mr. Morrison, you are impulsive. You make decisions quickly, without considering all consequences. Normally that would concern me. But in this case, your impulsivity saved a life.
Emma was dying on that street. You didn't wait for permission.
You acted. Judge Hammond looked at Emma.
Emma, I've been a family court judge for 20 years.
I've seen thousands of custody cases. And I've learned that love isn't about perfection. It's about commitment. Your father isn't perfect. But he's committed. To you. And that matters. Richard felt tears starting. Mrs. Morrison, your argument relies on protocol over people. You claim Richard acted improperly by not consulting you. But Emma wasn't a furniture purchase.
She was a child in crisis. And frankly, your testimony today showed more concern for your inconvenience than Emma's welfare. Victoria's face went rigid.
Therefore,
I'm granting Richard Morrison sole physical and legal custody of Emma Morrison. Mrs. Morrison,
you're entitled to supervised visitation if Emma consents. But given Emma's testimony and the documented emotional abuse, I'm recommending family therapy before any visitation occurs. The gavel came down. This case is closed.
Emma looked at Richard.
Does that mean you're staying?
You're mine. Forever. Emma threw her arms around him, crying. Relief tears. Joy tears. Safe tears. Across the courtroom, Victoria stood, gathered her things, and walked out without a word. Shepard followed, already on his phone with his next client. Outside the courtroom, Richard knelt to Emma's level. You did so good in there. I was so scared. Me too. But we won. We won.
Emma smiled full, genuine, the first truly unguarded smile Richard had seen.
Can we get ice cream? We can get a whole ice cream store if you want. Just one cone's good.
They got ice cream at Salt and Straw in West Hollywood.
Emma ordered brown butter almond brittle. Richard got honey lavender. They sat outside, watching LA traffic, eating ice cream, being normal. Dad?
Yeah, sweetheart.
What happens now?
Now we go home.
And tomorrow we wake up. And we keep being a family. That's it. That's the whole plan. Forever? Forever. Emma licked her ice cream, thinking. I like that plan. Me too, kiddo. Me too.
6 months after the trial, Emma's nightmares finally stopped. Not suddenly healing wasn't a light switch. But gradually, night by night, the screaming faded. The 3 a.m. wake-ups became less frequent.
The blanket nest on Richard's floor migrated closer to her own bed. Then into her own bed until one morning Richard woke up and realized Emma had slept through the entire night in her
room, alone. Safe, he stood in her doorway.
Watching her sleep, this small person who'd become his entire world, and felt something he hadn't felt in decades. Peace. Downstairs, Lydia was already making breakfast. Pancakes, bacon, the smells that meant home.
Richard poured coffee, scrolled through his phone. Morrison Construction was thriving again, different now, structured around reasonable hours and family time, but thriving.
Tom had tried to sue for wrongful termination. Richard's lawyers had destroyed him in court. The company was stronger without him. Emma appeared, hair messy, wearing her bright cobalt blue pajamas, the expensive ones Richard had bought at Nordstrom after she'd admitted the hospital hoodie made her sad. She climbed onto a stool at the kitchen island, rubbing sleep from her eyes. Morning, Dad. Morning, kiddo. Sleep okay? Yeah, had a dream about the beach. Good dream or bad dream?
Good. We were building sandcastles.
Really big ones. Richard smiled. We should do that today. It's Saturday. No school. No work. Just beach. Emma's face lit up, that unguarded joy that used to be so rare, now becoming almost normal. Really?
Really.
After breakfast, they ate together, Lydia joining them with her own plate. This had become routine, the three of them at the table, talking about nothing important, everything important. Emma told them about a book she was reading,
about her friend Sophia at school who also liked horses, about her art teacher who said her drawings were showing real emotion now.
Real emotion. Emma was learning to feel things besides fear. After breakfast, while Emma brushed her teeth, Lydia pulled Richard aside.
Mr. Morrison, I need to tell you something.
His stomach clenched. What's wrong?
Nothing's wrong. I've been with your family for 2 years now. Seen a lot of things. And I need you to know what you did for that little girl, bringing her home. Fighting for her, that's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. You saved her life. Richard felt his throat tighten. She saved mine too. Lydia smiled. I know. That's why it's beautiful.
Santa Monica Beach was crowded. Typical Saturday. Families everywhere. Volleyball games, surfers paddling out.
Richard found a spot near the lifeguard tower, spread out their blanket.
Emma ran immediately to the water's edge, letting waves lap at her toes. She'd grown in 6 months. Filled out.
Her brown braided hair was longer now, healthy.
Her skin had color from regular meals and sunshine.
She looked like a normal 8-year-old because she was becoming one. Richard watched her collect shells.
Her bright cobalt blue swimsuit vivid against the sand.
Other families nearby, doing the same thing.
Normal Saturday. Normal life. The kind of normal Emma had never had. A woman approached mid-40s. Expensive athleisure. That specific Brentwood mom energy.
Your daughter's beautiful. Richard felt warmth spread through his chest. Thank you. How old? 8. Just had a birthday last month.
Mine's 9.
They should play together.
The woman paused. Wait, Richard Morrison? His stomach dropped. Here it comes.
The judgment. The questions. I read about your custody case. In the LA Times. That was you, right?
Yes. The woman's face transformed.
Not judgment. Admiration.
What you did fighting for her like that, my husband and we've been talking about fostering. Your story inspired us.
I just wanted you to know that.
She walked away before Richard could respond. Emma ran back, holding a perfect sand dollar. Look, it's not broken.
Just like you, Richard said quietly.
What?
Nothing. Let's build that castle.
They spent 3 hours constructing an elaborate sandcastle, towers, moats, seaweed flags.
Other kids joined, Emma directing the operation like a tiny general. Richard watched her interact, still cautious, still careful, but engaging.
Making friends. Being a kid. When the tide came in and destroyed their castle, Emma didn't cry. She laughed. We'll build a bigger one next time. Next time. Future tense. Planning ahead. Believing in tomorrow. Before we continue, I need you to understand what just happened. Emma laughed when something she built got destroyed.
6 months ago, she would have shut down, assumed it was her fault, believed she deserved bad things. Now, she's planning the next castle. That's not just healing, that's hope.
If you've ever watched someone you love learn to hope again after trauma, tell me about it in the comments.
Because hope is the most fragile, most powerful thing in the world.
And Emma finally has it.
That evening, after showers and dinner, Emma asked the question Richard had been waiting for.
Dad, why didn't my first mom want me?
They were in the living room, Emma curled against him on the couch, reading or pretending to read while working up.
Courage to ask. Richard set down his own book. Dr. Patel had prepared him for this. The truth or the easy answer?
Truth. I'm not a baby. Okay, truth. I don't know why she didn't want you.
Maybe she was scared. Maybe she wasn't ready.
Maybe she had problems she couldn't solve.
But here's what I know for sure. Her not wanting you wasn't about you. It was about her. You were a perfect baby. You're a perfect kid.
Some adults just can't handle perfect.
Emma was quiet for a long moment.
Do you know who she is?
Richard hesitated. The hospital records had Victoria's name. Emma deserved to know. But did she deserve to know now? I do. Will you tell me? When you're ready. When knowing won't hurt you, it already hurts not knowing. Fair point. Richard adjusted so he could see her face. What if I told you that your birth mom was someone who couldn't love you the way you deserved? That she gave you up because she knew she couldn't be what you needed? Is that true?
Partly.
Emma processed this. Was it Mrs. Victoria? Richard's blood froze. How did you? I heard things. During the trial. The way her lawyer talked. The way she looked at me. Emma's brown eyes met his. She's my birth mom, isn't she? No point lying. Emma was too smart.
Yes. She gave me away and then got mad when you brought me home. Yes. That's really messed up.
Richard almost laughed. Yeah, kiddo.
That's really messed up. Do I have to see her?
Not if you don't want to.
The judge said only supervised visits, only if you consent.
So it's your choice. Emma thought about this.
Then, maybe someday. When I'm older.
When I understand better. But not now. Okay, Dad?
Yeah? I'm glad she gave me away.
Because if she didn't, you wouldn't have found me. Richard pulled her closer.
I'm glad too.
They sat in silence, reading, just being together.
Outside, Ella glittered.
Inside, they had everything that mattered. The next week, Emma had her annual evaluation with Dr. Patel. Richard waited in the lobby, scrolling through work emails, half listening to the white noise machine outside the therapy office. When Emma emerged, Dr. Patel asked Richard to come in alone. How's she doing? Richard asked, sitting across from the therapist. Dr. Patel smiled.
Remarkably well. Her anxiety scores are down 60% from intake.
She's sleeping through most nights.
Her social engagement at school is age appropriate. Richard, she's thriving. So we can stop therapy?
God, no. She needs ongoing support. Trauma doesn't disappear. It just becomes manageable.
But I wanted to tell you, you did it. You took a severely traumatized child and gave her the stability to heal.
That's extraordinary. I just loved her.
That's exactly what made it extraordinary. Most people can't love through the hard parts.
You did.
Dr. Patel leaned forward.
There's something else.
Emma told me today that she wants to be adopted, officially, not just custody, full legal adoption.
Richard felt his chest constrict. She said that? She wants your last name. Wants it legal, permanent. She's ready to close the door on being temporary. Then let's do it. The adoption process took 3 months. Background checks Richard had already passed. Home studies he'd already completed. But bureaucracy moved slowly. Finally, in October,
they stood in the same courthouse where Judge Hammond had granted custody. This time, the hearing was simple.
A formality. Emma wore her best bright cobalt blue dress. Richard wore his cream Brioni suit, the lucky one from the custody trial.
Emma Morrison, Judge Hammond said, smiling. Do you want Richard Morrison to be your legal father?
Yes. Richard Morrison, do you commit to being Emma's father in all legal and emotional capacities for the rest of your life?
I do. Then by the power vested in me by the state of California, I declare this adoption final and legal.
Emma Morrison, you are officially and permanently the daughter of Richard Morrison.
Congratulations.
The gavel came down. Emma turned to Richard, eyes shining. I'm really yours now. You were always mine. Now the paperwork agrees. They celebrated at Nobu Malibu fancy dinner, ocean views, the kind of place Richard used to take business clients.
Now he was taking his daughter. Emma ordered chicken teriyaki, made it through half before getting full. Richard boxed up the rest, paid the check, and they walked on the beach as the sun set. Dad?
Yeah? I'm happy.
3 words. Simple. True. Everything.
Me too, Emma. Me too. Stop scrolling for a second because I need you to process what just happened. Emma Morrison is now legally, permanently,
forever Emma Morrison. No more temporary. No more foster kid. No more waiting for the other shoe to drop.
She's home.
And if you're crying right now, good, because this is what the system is supposed to do. It's supposed to connect kids who need families with adults who will fight for them. Comment forever family, if this ending is making you feel something real.
Because Emma's story is fiction, but somewhere right now, there's a real kid waiting for their Richard.
And maybe, just maybe, one of you reading this will be that person.
Christmas came. Emma's first real Christmas, the first one she remembered anyway. Richard went overboard.
Tree from the best lot in Beverly Hills, decorations that cost more than most people's rent, Presents stacked so high Emma laughed and said, "Dad, this is too much."
But it wasn't too much. It was exactly right. Christmas morning, Emma woke at 6 a.m., ran to Richard's room.
"Dad! Dad!"
Santa came. Richard, groggy, smiled. Emma still believed in Santa. Dr. Patel said it was good childhood wonder she'd missed before. Yeah? What did he bring? Everything. Come look. Downstairs, the tree glittered. Presents everywhere. Lydia was already up, making hot chocolate, the real kind. Melted chocolate and cinnamon. Emma opened presents with careful precision, saving the paper. Reading every card, expressing gratitude for each gift. The American Girl doll she'd actually wanted. Art supplies, books, clothes. A bicycle bright cobalt blue, her color. But the gift that made her cry was the smallest. A velvet box. Inside, a necklace. Simple gold chain. Small pendant engraved with Emma Morrison, forever loved. Dad, her voice broke. Turn it over. On the back, adopted October 2024. My daughter. My heart. Emma put it on, touched the pendant. I'm never taking this off.
You don't have to.
They spent Christmas Day doing nothing important. Pancakes for breakfast. Watching movies. Building a gingerbread house that collapsed twice. Lydia's famous tamales for dinner, her family recipe, the one she only made for people she loved. Around 8 p.m., Emma fell asleep on the couch, full of food and joy and security. Richard carried her to bed, tucked her in, watched her sleep. His phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. Merry Christmas. I hope Emma's well. The Victoria. First contact since the trial. Richard stared at the message. Thought about responding. Decided not to. Blocked the number. Emma didn't need Victoria's guilt. She needed what she had. Stability, love, permanence. In January, Emma started 3rd grade at Crossroads. No more incidents. No more panic attacks. She joined the art club. Made friends. Brought home drawings Richard hung on every available wall. One drawing showed a house. Their house. 2 stick figures holding hands. One tall, one small. Both smiling. Above them, in careful letters, my family. Richard took a photo, made it his phone background. Showed everyone at work. Became that parent, the one who couldn't stop talking about their kid. His business partners noticed the change. At board meetings, Richard left at 5 p.m. sharp. No more 80-hour weeks. No more missing Emma's school events for conference calls. You're different, his CFO said one day. Calmer, happier. I have a reason to come home now. Must be nice. It is. You should try it. February brought Emma's 9th birthday. They threw a party at their house, Emma's first real birthday party. 12 kids from school. Parents Richard was now friendly with, cake from Sweet Lady Jane in Melrose. Emma wore her bright cobalt blue party dress. Her forever necklace, her first real smile Richard had ever seen. She blew out her candles, made a wish she wouldn't share. Later, after everyone left, Richard asked, "What did you wish for?" Can't tell. Won't come true. Fair enough. Emma helped clean up, carefully storing leftover cake. Then, Dad, I lied. I can tell you my wish. Yeah? I wished for this to never end.
For us to always be together.
Emma, that's already true. You don't need to wish for that. I know.
But I wanted to make sure.
Spring came. Emma's nightmares were gone.
Her therapist appointments dropped to once a month.
She was sleeping in her own bed, eating normally, laughing freely. She was just a kid. A normal, happy, loved kid. One Saturday in April, Richard took Emma to the Santa Monica Pier. They rode the Ferris wheel, ate cotton candy, played arcade games. At the top of the Ferris wheel, Ella sprawled below City of Angels, City of Broken Dreams, city where Richard had found his daughter on a rainy November night. Dad, can I ask you something? Always. Do you ever wish you hadn't stopped that night? That you'd just driven home? Richard looked at her, this small person who'd become his entire world. Never, not once.
Even when it was hard? When Mrs. Victoria was mean? When the trial happened? Especially then.
Emma, you're the best thing that ever happened to me. You know that, right?
Really? Really? I built a company. Made millions.
Had this whole successful life.
And none of it mattered until you. You made me matter.
Emma leaned against him. You made me matter too. They sat in comfortable silence, the Ferris wheel turning, the ocean sparkling below. Dad?
Yeah? I love you.
I love you too, kiddo. Forever. Forever, Emma echoed. The Ferris wheel completed its rotation.
They descended back to Earth. But something had shifted. Something permanent. Unbreakable. They were family. Real family. The kind that chose each other and kept choosing. Every single day. Here's what I need you to understand about this moment. Emma asked Richard if he ever regretted saving her. That question, that fear, that's trauma. It never fully goes away. But you know what does go away?
The belief that you're unlovable.
Emma's finally learning she's worth keeping. And if you're someone who struggles with that same belief that you're too broken, too difficult, too much, I need you to hear this. You are worth keeping. You are worth fighting for. You are worth someone's forever. Comment if you needed to hear that today.
Because I think a lot of us are Emma. And we need to be reminded that we're enough.
2 years after the trial, Richard got a call from his lawyer Jessica. Rick, Victoria's in the hospital.
His first instinct was concern.
Then he remembered who she was.
What she'd done. Why are you telling me?
Because she's asking for Emma.
Absolutely not. Rick, she's dying.
Stage 4 cancer.
Weeks, maybe days. She wants to apologize to Emma before. No. Emma doesn't need that.
She doesn't need Victoria's deathbed confession to feel better about herself.
Jessica was quiet. What if Emma wants to see her? She doesn't. Have you asked?
Richard hung up. But the question haunted him. That night, after dinner, he broached it carefully.
Emma, I got a call today about Victoria. Emma looked up from her homework fractions, the struggle of 4th grade. Okay. She's sick. Really sick.
And she wants to see you.
Emma's pencil paused.
Why?
To apologize, I think.
To say goodbye.
Is she dying? Yes. Emma returned to her fractions. I don't want to see her.
You don't have to.
It's completely your choice.
Okay, I choose no.
Emma erased something, rewrote it. Is that mean? No, sweetheart. It's self-preservation.
Good. Because I don't forgive her. And I don't want to pretend I do just because she's dying.
Richard felt a surge of pride. Emma had learned to set boundaries. To protect herself. That was healing too. 3 weeks later, Jessica called again.
Victoria died yesterday. There's a will.
She left everything to Emma?
What?
Everything.
The divorce settlement, her investments, about $4.2 million. It's Emma's, to be held in trust until she's 18.
Richard sat down. She left Emma $4.2 million. And a letter.
For Emma. To be opened when she's ready.
The letter sat in Richard's safe for 2 years. Emma knew about it. Richard didn't keep secrets, but she wasn't interested. Maybe when I'm older, she'd say. Not now. Life continued. Emma grew. Started middle school. Made the volleyball team.
Got her first crush, a boy named Marcus who played trumpet in band.
Came home crying when Marcus liked someone else. Richard bought ice cream, listened, told her she'd survive heartbreak.
She did. At 13. Emma finally asked about the letter.
I think I'm ready now.
They sat in Richard's study, the envelope between them on the desk.
Cream paper. Victoria's perfect handwriting. To Emma, when you're ready. Emma opened it carefully.
Read silently. Richard watched her face cycle through emotions, anger, sadness, understanding,
grief. When she finished, she folded it, put it back in the envelope. What did it say?
That she was sorry. That she was sick when she knew me, not cancer sick, sick in the head. That seeing me reminded her of everything she'd failed at.
That she gave me away because she thought she'd ruin me. And then when you brought me home, she couldn't handle seeing you love me when she couldn't. That doesn't excuse what she did. I know. She said that too. That nothing excuses it. But she wanted me to know it wasn't about me. It was about her. Emma stood, walked to the window overlooking LA. You know what's weird? I feel sad for her. Not because she died. Because she never got to be happy. She had everything, money, looks, whatever, and she was miserable. And she died miserable. That's sad. Richard joined her at the window. You're very wise. I had a good teacher. Emma smiled at him. What happens to the money? It's yours. In a trust. When you're 18, you can do whatever you want with it. Can I give it away?
To foster kids? To programs that help them?
Richard felt his throat close. You can do whatever you want with it.
Good. Because I don't want her money.
But maybe it can help kids like me. Kids who need someone to stop their car. At 16, Emma was beautiful. Looked like Richard, same brown hair, same brown eyes, same stubborn chin.
She'd grown tall, athletic from volleyball.
Boys noticed. Richard noticed them noticing.
Didn't love it. Dad, you're doing the thing again.
What thing? The thing where you stare at boys like you're going to hurt them. I'm not staring. You're definitely staring. Emma was right. He was staring. At Marcus, the trumpet player from middle school who'd come back around, now 6 feet tall and playing guitar in a garage band. I don't trust him. You don't trust anyone with me. That's not true. I trust you. Emma smiled. That's actually really sweet, Dad. She'd started calling him Dad when she was 7. Never stopped. It never got old. At 17, Emma was applying to colleges. UCLA, USC, Berkeley. All close to home.
Richard tried to be supportive, not relieved.
You can go anywhere, he told her. East Coast schools. Ivy League. Whatever you want. I know. But I want to stay close. Is that weird? It's not weird. I spent so many years without a home. Now that I have one, I don't want to be far from it. Richard hugged her. You'll always have a home here. At 18, Emma graduated high school. Valedictorian. Full ride to UCLA. Future so bright it hurt to look at directly. At graduation, she gave a speech. Talked about resilience. About choosing family. About the stranger who stopped his car on Sunset Boulevard and changed her life. I was 7 years old, dying on a street corner. Emma said from the podium, her voice steady. And someone chose to see me. Not as a problem. Not as a burden. As a person. As someone worth saving. That choice, that moment, it gave me everything. My life. My future.
My family. So to everyone graduating today, be someone who stops.
Be someone who sees. Be someone who chooses to care when it's inconvenient. Because you never know, that choice might save a life. The auditorium erupted. Richard cried openly. Didn't care who saw. After the ceremony, Emma found him in the crowd. Still wearing her bright cobalt blue graduation robe, her color, always her color. You okay, Dad? I'm perfect. You were perfect. I learned from the best. I need to stop here because Emma just publicly told the story of the worst and best night of her life. And she did it without shame. Without hiding. She owned her trauma and her triumph. That's the ultimate healing, when you can speak your truth out loud and not break. When you can say, I was that kid, and feel pride instead of shame. If you've ever been brave enough to own your story, the whole story, even the ugly parts, comment below. Tell us what it felt like. Because Emma's courage right here? That's the real victory. Not the adoption. Not the degree. The ability to say, I survived and mean it. 10 years after that November night on Sunset Boulevard, Richard Morrison stood in his Bel Air backyard, watching his daughter get married. Emma, 27 now, looked radiant in her wedding dress. Simple, elegant, not the princess gown most girls dreamed of, had never been most girls. Her husband-to-be was Daniel, a public defender she'd met during her work with foster care advocacy. Good man. Kind.
The kind who stopped his car. Richard walked Emma down the aisle, giving her away.
Emma had been firm about that.
You're not giving me away. You're walking beside me.
That's different.
So he walked beside her, this woman who'd been a scared 7-year-old when they met.
Now she was strong, confident, whole.
She'd graduated UCLA with honors.
Got her MSW. Worked for LA County Department of Children and Family Services.
Spent her days stopping cars for other kids. Victoria's $4.2 million?
Emma had used it to fund a nonprofit, Forever Families.
It helped train adults to become foster parents, provided therapy for foster kids, advocated for system reform.
Emma had turned her trauma into purpose. At the altar, Emma turned to Richard. Thank you.
For everything. Thank you for letting me be your dad.
She hugged him, still that fierce hug from when she was small, like she was afraid he'd disappear. He'd never disappeared. Never would. The ceremony was simple. Non-religious Emma had complicated feelings about God, understandable given her history. But full of love. Friends from every stage of her life.
Dr. Patel was there, crying openly. Lydia too, sitting with her family, beaming with pride. At the reception, Emma gave a speech.
I used to think family was something you were born with. Something you had no control over. And maybe that's true. But I learned family is also something you choose. And something that chooses you. My dad didn't have to stop his car that night. He didn't have to bring me home. He didn't have to fight for me. He chose to.
Every single day for 20 years, he chose me.
And that made all the difference. She raised her glass. So here's to choosing each other. Every day. Even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. The room erupted in applause. Later, during father-daughter dance, Emma whispered, I was so scared that night. On the street. I thought I was going to die. I know. If you hadn't stopped. But I did. Why? Why'd you stop when everyone else kept driving? Richard thought about this. The same question he'd asked himself 1,000 times. Because I saw you. Really saw you. Not as a problem to avoid. As a person who needed help. And once I saw you, I couldn't unsee you. I'm glad you couldn't. Me too, kiddo. The song ended. Emma hugged him. I love you, Dad. I love you too, forever. Forever, she echoed. Emma and Daniel left for their honeymoon 2 weeks in Italy. Emma's first time out of the country. She was nervous, excited, ready. Richard drove home alone, his Bel Air mansion quiet without Emma's presence. Lydia had retired 2 years ago, living with her daughter in San Diego, visiting monthly. The house felt empty. But not lonely. Never lonely anymore. He walked through rooms full of memories. Emma's school photos on the walls. Her art projects still displayed. The stick figure drawing from that first Christmas, carefully framed. The Santa Monica Ferris wheel photo. The graduation picture. Her UCLA diploma, which she'd insisted Richard keep. Evidence of a life built. A family chosen. His phone rang. Emma, calling from the airport. Dad, we're about to board. Just wanted to say bye. Have the best time. I will. But Dad? Yeah? Thank you. For being the person who stopped. For being my dad. For everything. Thank you for being my daughter. Love you. Love you too. Now go. Daniel's waiting. He hung up. Sat in his study, looking at the city where this story began. 20 years ago, Richard Morrison had been a lonely millionaire with a failing marriage and an empty life. Now he was a father. A changed man. Someone who knew what actually mattered. His desk drawer held a small box, Emma's first gift to him, made in 3rd grade art class. A ceramic heart, bright cobalt blue, painted carefully with her small hands. On the back, in wobbly letters, Best Dad. Forever. He held it. This small piece of fired clay that meant more than any business deal, any award, any accolade. Emma had saved him just as much as he'd saved her. maybe more. Outside, Ella glittered. Somewhere in the city, another child might be alone, scared, hoping someone would stop. And because of Emma's nonprofit, because of her advocacy, maybe someone would. Maybe another Richard would see another Emma. Maybe another family would form from Brokeness. Maybe that was the point of everything. Not the saving. The seeing. Richard's phone buzzed.
Text from Emma, with a photo her and Daniel on the plane smiling.
The caption, "Forever family takes flight." He smiled, typed back, "Fly high, kiddo. I'll be here when you land." And he would be, always, because that's what family did.
What chosen family did.
What forever meant. Richard Morrison, 66 years old, closed his eyes and remembered a November night. A rainy street. A small girl under a bus shelter.
The single best decision of his entire life. Stopping the car. So here's where
Emma's story ends and where her real life begins. She survived. She healed. She found love, purpose, family. And now she's out there making sure other kids get the same chance. If this story moved you, if it made you cry or rage or feel something real, I need you to do something. Don't just close this tab and forget.
Look into foster care in your area.
Volunteer with organizations that help vulnerable kids. Be someone who stops. Because somewhere right now, there's a child on a metaphorical street corner, waiting for someone to see them. Maybe that someone is you. Comment, "I see you," for every kid still waiting. And subscribe if you believe love is always worth fighting for. Because Emma Morrison's story proves it is. Thank you for staying with me through this journey. Thank you for witnessing Emma's courage. And most of all, thank you for being the kind of person who stops.